Hello everyone, so today we're going to be going over the first stop on our world tour, Sweden, and all the fun things that come with it, why this will be an amazing country to go to, and everything that goes along. First things first, you're going to want to remember to bring a jacket because it's rather cold here and a lot more frigid than you're used to. Starting with geography, Sweden's primarily dominated by mountains similar in size to the Appalachians in the north, but much more snow-covered and glaciated, while the rest of the country consists primarily of forest, farmland, rolling hills and plains. Much more similar to the Midwest, but in a lot of ways, kind of a little bit like the Rockies with its rocky terrain and frigid atmosphere. On top of all that, Sweden's also one of the biggest places in the world where you can go to view the Northern Lights, as it's extremely far north and near the Arctic Circle. And now moving on, unlike in America where everyone's very close, has a lot of small talk and likes to chit-chat, in Sweden it's a little more reserved, a little more laid back and distant, and you typically just speak the point of what you're trying to get across. And also, Sweden's a very huge pioneering force in modern day technology and scientific advancements, so it's a great place if you're a nerd like me. Sweden also has a lot of similarities to my home state of Minnesota, such as climate and a little bit of the culture. But unlike in Minnesota, where Vikings wear jerseys and play football, in Sweden, there were ancient warriors and conquerors, but also travelers too. And if only Minnesota had that kind of warrior mentality, we'd actually win a Super Bowl for once. But at the same time, even though it's long gone thousands of years ago or even hundreds, a lot of the Viking traditions still do linger on in today's society in Sweden. More informed with the arts as well as also a lot of the background. Just like in Minnesota where hockey is a major sport, in Sweden, hockey is also a major sport. But unlike in America where you're also dominated by football, basketball, and baseball, Sweden likes to prefer a lot of other sports such as soccer, which in the rest of the world is known as football actually, as well as also a lot of track and field that you typically see in Olympic sports, and even a lot of skiing and snowboarding sports are extremely common in Sweden and are very highly cherished and watched a lot on national television. Now move on to music. Back in the 70s, they were largely dominated by pop like ABBA, as well as also back in the olden days such as folk and classical. But going into the more modern day, they become a huge pioneering force in the genre of music known as heavy metal, just like our own band, such as big bands like Arch Enemy, Amon Amarth, At the Gates, and of course my personal favorites, Children of Bodom. These bands were extremely heavy, but were also extremely melodic, taking on the genre known as melodic death metal or Swedish death metal. So quite frankly, our band Horizon of Defiance will fit in just fine here, as we play a lot of the same stuff, and we still have that warrior mentality. Now when it comes to wildlife, they have things like bears, wolves, reindeer, also aka caribou, wild Eurasian boars, and if you're near the ocean, even whales. So in a lot of ways you can think of it as actually pretty similar to North America when it comes to fauna. A lot of like much of Northern Europe, but also a little bit different too. And now today Sweden is predominantly a Christian country, but a lot of the pagan traditions from the Vikings do still linger on, and a lot of people even still choose to worship this as their predominant religion and way of life. And Sweden's also very well known for its architecture, predominantly being very Gothic, very medieval at times, but also at the same time very beautiful. And at times I've even been known to take a little bit of influence from the Greeks too, such as with their capital city. Now Sweden predominantly speaks its own native language of Swedish, which does borrow a little bit from the languages of Norwegian, Danish, and Finnish, but at the same time carry a lot of their own words and even a little bit of their own alphabet too. Sweden, they also do study English, but they typically prefer to use it for going to other countries, so don't go to Sweden expecting everyone to speak English for you. Sweden also has a lot of different kinds of foods that are very famous around the world, such as meatballs, various kinds of pastries that they also have in common with Denmark. But at the same time, they're very meat-oriented, but also at the same time do tend to have a lot of vegetables, quite a bit like North America, but a little bit more spicy at times. And back in the olden days, they were big into eating whale as well. Now, when you want to get around Sweden, you got to keep in mind that in bigger cities, it's usually more subway, but in the rest of the country, it's predominantly bus or car. So it helps if you have your driver's license. But one other big thing to keep in mind is that unlike in America, the rest of the world, including Sweden, uses the metric system. So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit, but also get to know the metric system because it's how you're going to be able to get around and know measurements. Sweden's big into recycling as well as also a lot of renewable energy, so it's a very clean country, and they like to keep it that way. So please do your parts, have a lot of fun here in Sweden, and we're looking forward to touring here and the rest of the world. Thank you.